We've seen Bitcoin drop down to that $60,000 zone of support that we were expecting, which is absolutely phenomenal. And since then, we have also gotten a nice 3.6% bounce to the upside. But nothing has really happened here. We haven't actually matured from this range yet. And I want to talk to you about how low this thing could be going, but also the bull case and how we could actually be recovering. We're going to be covering it all in this YouTube video. So if you're excited for it like I am, do me a favor and smash up those likes. Double check that you are subscribed for this very time-sensitive content. And the first thing that I want to cover with you very simply is how do you validate support, right? I mean, we clearly fell down to a zone of support. It's the $60,000 price level. Everybody and their grandmother knows about it. It's important. It's been important for a long time. But how do we validate it? How do we validate that this is actually a substantial bounce on support? In my opinion, there's only really one way to do it, and it is simply by assessing, have we broken resistance levels, okay? When we got the bounce at $60,000 here, have we started to break resistance levels up ahead? If the answer is no, then this is weak. If the answer is yes, then this is a strong bounce. Clearly, we're looking at being weak right now. We've not only have we not actually moved up by very much at all, we also haven't come anywhere near to our resistance levels. So as far as I'm concerned there, ladies and gents, it's not amazing. I don't know what's happened with my chart here. Something really weird is going on, but let's see if we can just take a different chart altogether. But we have managed to just get a very, very small bounce here, which, you know what, I'm not super over the moon about. It is what it is. We'll take it as it comes. The next thing that I want to do, though, while my chart's just figuring itself out, is take a look at the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, because this was actually offering some support to Bitcoin. We're now basically at the bottom of it, which I think is great. This is a really nice kind of bounce zone, this red line here. The top line is always going to be important as well, but the bottom line also, I would say, equally important. And you do tend to see really nice kind of bounces coming off this level, at least in my experience. So we're basically there. We don't have to tag it as far as I'm concerned. This is good enough. But to me, this is still offering amazing support to Bitcoin. So I see this as a window of opportunity, right? If Bitcoin is not bouncing basically by the 4th of October, which is in 2 days at the time of me recording this, then I think we're in trouble. And I think that things could get very bad for Bitcoin. So I'm going to be watching that pretty closely just to see how that kind of goes for Bitcoin. It's been trending nicely. We have been setting higher lows. The market is in a good position. This is not super scary or any particular kind of cause to panic. I did predict a fear and greed index rating of around 42 last night, and that is exactly what we got here, which is fantastic. We went from 61 to 50 to 42, and I really like seeing that our fear and greed index is resetting, because it gives us very strong indications that this market is not coping with small drops. Okay, this market is getting very scared with small drops. We're seeing people offloading their altcoins in droves. Clearly, there is a lot of fear given that we're at 61K, which is hilarious to say out loud, but it's also very important, because when we get this kind of fear coming into the market, when we get, you know, pretty steep drops inside of just one day, and this is going to update in 5.5 hours. We'll see what happens. But, you know, we're not super bullish here, put it that way, especially in terms of sentiment. Well, guess what, ladies and gents? Those people that are, you know, losing their cool quickly, those people that are dumping their altcoins in droves other than being smart and just cutting losses where they should be, you know, they're also, you know, they're the weak hands, okay? And it's a concept that I was speaking about in yesterday's YouTube video. Shout out to those of you that are subscribed and catching it all, because it is super time-sensitive content. It's the concept that we were talking about in yesterday's video, where, in short, if you are, you know, getting taken out of the market, you're essentially moving your coins from the hands of impatient people to the hands of patient people. And the beautiful thing about patient people in these markets is that they don't sell. Okay, and if they don't sell, the price can't go down, right? The only thing you have left are buyers, and then naturally you're going to start gaining asset appreciation. So really, really good stuff there. These are the right signs. This is how you cleanse a market, and this is what healthy consolidation looks like, right? I mean, everybody wants to talk about how this is a horrible pattern and the bull market ended at 74K and so on and so forth. I love seeing these comments, right? I read my comments, I read other people's comments on Twitter and stuff like that. People are wrecked emotionally and psychologically. They are done with this market. They're watching it like they're a bitter ex, watching them on social media, just trying to make sure that they're not happy. You know, and that's completely normal when markets do this kind of consolidation. I've been doing this for over 7 years, and I've seen these characteristics manifest constantly over the last 7 years. So I do think this is the same, and I still firmly believe that this is a beautiful descending channel. that's going to be getting ready to shoot up. So let's talk about that path for recovery before we start talking about the downside. Then we're going to have a little bit of altcoin analysis, some S&P 500, and some tweets that I'm going to be talking to you about as well. And the dollar, of course. There's lots more to go through in this YouTube video. Definitely smash up those likes if you are excited so far. And if you have been enjoying this video, if you want to trade on the same exchanges that I use, then check out the links down below. Bybit's the best in the game. There's no doubt about it. They're giving you $30,000 to start trading when you use my link down below. And they've also got a sister exchange called Apex, well worth checking out. It's completely decentralized. You keep custody of your funds. Blowfin, though, is a phenomenal alternative. They are well worth checking out. They are, other than Bybit, I would say that they are the second best in the game. I've loved using them. A lot of you guys have loved using them. Definitely check them out. You get thousands of dollars for free when you start trading them. Trading on these exchanges, but always be mindful of your country's local laws and regulations. Let's bring it back to the video though, because I want to talk to you about what might happen if Bitcoin starts moving up. And if Bitcoin does start getting that kind of ascension upwards, then we've got this, $63,000 zone of resistance. We found a lot of support here and even on the way back down. So naturally, I do think that this could turn into resistance. But if we're able to get above it, then worst case scenario, we end up trading sideways like this and then continue on. Best case scenario, we just shoot straight through it. Both would be fine. The more consolidation, the better. Always, it always kind of pays the path for the market to go higher. So I love to see consolidation. I love to see corrections. Not everybody does. Not everybody is built to be a winning trader. So not everybody can respect, such beautiful formations in the market. But what I'm seeing right here is a relatively weak zone of resistance. I really don't think it's going to be too problematic for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, if it's ready to start moving up, isn't going to have too much of a problem here at 63, which means that 65 is next, but we've already broken 65 as well, so I'm not worried about 65. And so really, I think it's just sweeping this high up here in the mid $66,000 range. I actually think that this is going to be the kind of key level for Bitcoin now. I'm not really even interested in all the other lines. In fact, I believe that so strongly that I'd like to take this chance with you guys live on this video to just delete everything on this chart. And I literally mean everything right in front of you. And I just want to start redrawing things to show you what I think is relevant. And this is a really nice exercise. I really think that this works quite well for a lot of traders. It's always worth considering doing this if you kind of feel like, you want a fresh pair of eyes or something. There is also a very, very secret tool that we can use every now and then that I've shown you on a couple of live streams. And if you've never known what that is, then definitely make sure you are subscribed with the bell icon checked so that you get notified about my live streams, because we do talk about them on some live streams. But we'll come back to that when the time is right. We're not going to be teasing that too much more right now. But right here, we've got this kind of range that we're kind of in right now. We're not too worried about that. I'm just going to go ahead and drag this box up, and we've got another phenomenal range right here at 63K. Like I said, not too worried about that. This high, though, this is where things get interesting, and it does line up very nicely with that existing $67,000 zone of resistance that we've known Bitcoin has had for a very long time now, right? We've been bouncing off this level very well. We've been getting rejections off this level very nicely. It has been more support than resistance, which I guess is a good sign. Recently, this range, relatively speaking, did serve as resistance for Bitcoin. We can probably even just move this up a little bit higher, and it's the same kind of thing anyway. And so I think this is going to be the next kind of key zone for Bitcoin. Yeah, realistically, I just don't think that anything else is going to be particularly problematic for Bitcoin. I think that there is also this range right here, which is interesting, and this looks like about $71,000, as another zone of resistance for Bitcoin. This is kind of like dessert, though, right? Like, we're actually going to be enjoying this because I think it's going to be very easy to break this level, especially if we can break 67, because 67, I think, is a much more formidable, dangerous zone of resistance for this chart. So if we can get above that, I got no issues with getting above 71K. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. So that's what I'm seeing there in terms of upside. In terms of downside, it's a little bit more complicated. I think that, we've got this $60,000 zone of support. I really don't want to test this level very much. I mean, the more we test this level, the more concerning it's going to get, to me at least. It's a level which we've already tested a lot. It's a level which no longer, I would say, it's no longer particularly strong support for the market, right? I mean, we've got this test right here, which just fell straight through. Granted, we had this one here where we also fell straight through, but the next one bounced up pretty nicely. This one, we just didn't stop at 60K. Here on the way up, we didn't stop. On the way back down, we didn't stop. It's just not a super well-respected zone anymore. I mean, previously, with this exception here, big bounce, big bounce, big bounce, right? Coming off this level. Lately, you know, these levels, they get weaker the more you test them. That's just the truth, at least from my experience, and it is part of kind of classical technical theory as well. So very widely accepted, basically, is what I'm saying. This is a very widely accepted theory, and you're seeing it play out in front of you. So, you know, like I said, as far as the downside, it is a little bit more complicated. I think that if we kind of gravitate around this level for a little bit longer, it's like I was saying with the Ichimoku cloud, right? I mean, this Ichimoku cloud is given as a window up until kind of like the 4th of October. If it takes more than 2 days to bounce from this thing, I'm not optimistic. I'll be honest. I'm really not optimistic. And I'm going to have to expect that, you know, Bitcoin might actually end up rolling over down to its next zone of support. That's not a huge problem. You know, so far what I'm more interested in is setting higher lows, and that is totally doable down at $58,000. So I'm not going to make myself feel worried about that at all. You know, we can definitely bounce off 58,000 and still be very bullish, and it would actually arguably be a better market structure. I think that that's also worth considering, right? I mean, if we take a look at something a little bit like this, we got some space that we can kind of drop down, and it's really not that concerning at all. So I think that that's important. You know, we'll continue to kind of watch this and see how it plays out. I think there must be like some sort of EMA ribbon around here as well, right? Yeah, we've got some really, really nice EMA support on the weekly, which is fantastic. I mean, if we take a look at how this EMA ribbon has been useful for the market previously, you're seeing really big bounces coming off this level. I mean, take a look at this bounce right here. This was a 560% bounce. It also fails quite a lot. We're on a very, very large time frame, but I think, you know, if you're using it in the right ways, you know, analyzing it with a clear, sober mind without too much bias, then you're going to start to notice things like here in 2017, and to me, it looks similar enough. It looks similar enough. You could definitely argue that it looks like this, and I think you'd actually be correct. You know, so look, a lot of people are going to have different opinions on this, but me personally, support is support. I like it. I don't question it too much, because, you know, the technical charts, they know better than me. I'm humble enough to say that, at least. So I think that, you know, phenomenal support down here is going to be useful for Bitcoin to kind of punch in that next kind of, you know, more macro higher low over here. On the daily time frame, we have no spread on the EMA ribbon, so we're not going to be looking at that. And on the Ichimoku cloud, it is nearly closing up. We're just now getting back into the pits here, which is not great. And I do also just want to point out that, you know, if we forget about this, but we just look at Bitcoin on this more clean chart, this is a bad daily candle. You know, we've had a couple of, you know, pretty bearish candles here. You know, you can clearly see the momentum shifting. You get that wick, and then you get the doji here, and then you just really tumble down. And by the way, I made a video just on chart patterns. You guys really need to check it out if you haven't already. It was a super useful video. I think a lot of people glossed over it because, you know, they feel like they already understand candlesticks. You don't understand candlesticks as well as this video is going to tell it to you. I've been in your position before, and I had the exact same mindset, and then somebody else taught me a little bit more about candlesticks, and I realized, wow, I've really just been sleeping on the most basic tools that I could be using here. It's really useful. I highly recommend you check it out. It's well worth checking out. 14 minutes, play it on 2x, 7 minutes, done and dusted. But, you know, this was pretty obvious, especially looking back. You see the same kind of signs back here. We get that doji candle and then a couple of candles moving down. But the reason I don't like this now is because of this wick right here, right? This is a big, nasty wick. It's actually printing a bearish hammer. And bearish hammers are very, very bearish candles in my experience. I mean, whether it's a bullish hammer or a bearish hammer, typically they end up playing out in my experience. There are tons and tons of exceptions that you can point out, and you're not smart for finding exceptions, obviously, but they are not good signs in my opinion. You know, they clearly represent that the market has tried moving up and couldn't hold it, and it had to come back down. And to me, that is a pretty serious sign of weakness. And so again, if we start talking about how low this thing could go, 58, like I said, is going to be a pretty sweet level in my opinion. Anything below that is still fine. This is the thing. Like, I think a lot of people are just getting super weird and worried over nothing. You know, we can drop down as low as 49K. We can drop down as low as 44K, and we're still bullish as far as I'm concerned. I really do believe that. So I can't really, like, even draw a bearish hypothesis here. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that gets worried about, you know, a little fucking $20,000 drop in the market. Like, we're at 60K and this is Bitcoin, for fuck's sakes. Like, get real, bro. Like, this is gonna happen, and it's not it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. You know, like we've seen this a million times, and it really, like, nothing we've seen here is deviating from standard procedure, and clearly standard procedure is very bullish on a long time horizon. So I don't know, you tell me, but for me, dropping down to 44 is not even something that I would blink at, quite honestly. It's really not. It would just make things get slower, right? I mean, you know, right now, if we can recover this, we're looking at setting all-time highs, you know, probably even this month. If we drop down to 44, yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we're also going to make a lot more money on the other side. So, you know, I don't know about you, but I like making money, even if it's going to take a little bit longer. I'm still in Bitcoin, and I still understand that this is the fastest way to create wealth that, you know, many humans have ever experienced in the history of humankind. So, I don't know, big statements there, but I think that's important. We got a lot more to cover, including on Bitcoin analysis, but I want to start talking to you about a couple of tweets that I've been seeing here. So, here's one from 𝐿𝐴. This is a very, very bullish chart showing you how long it's typically taken, you know, at various different points for, you know, US elections to start triggering pumps. And it's the same kind of thing that we were talking about on this YouTube channel with, where is my election video? Have I not posted my election video? Oh man, I haven't posted my election. Okay, well that's gonna go up tomorrow then, my bad. Yeah, I made an entire video on the US election and I haven't posted it. Okay. Yeah, I got a couple of cool videos I haven't posted, guys. I remember the other ones I haven't posted, but anyway, you'll hear my thoughts on that very soon. Take that as a teaser. Make sure you are subscribed. That was I don't know. I guess actually probably the main reason I haven't posted it yet is because I'm doing this more urgent analysis, you know? I mean, I save these like nice flashy videos for when there's not much going on in the market. Right now there is a fair bit going on in the market. Here we've got Mustache here saying, did you know that October has been the starting month of the parabolic curve / blow off for Bitcoin top in every cycle? Meanwhile, the crypto fear and greed index is at fear. You love to see it. We're going so much higher in the coming weeks and months. I mean, I fucking hate this kind of sentiment. I think it's really cringe, but I also think that he's 100% correct. I mean, you know, I'm not really like a full-on like October is the bullish month of the Messiah or whatever. I'm not really that kind of guy, but I get it. And I think that, you know, even though it's a little bit cringe to read, I do still think he's correct. You know, and yeah, the fear and greed, we were talking about this. So, you know, I think that other people are noticing this. And like I said, what this achieves for us is it just locks up supply, right? Like if it looks so obvious that Bitcoin's going to move up, then you ain't going to get people selling. And if you're not getting anybody selling, naturally prices are going to start going up. Here we've got Key over here saying, I'm not going to butcher the rest of the name, if you're a new whale that just entered this bull run, you bought Bitcoin from old whales and your profit is currently 1%, would you dump your bag on retail investors? Now, I think what this person is getting at is ETFs and so on, right? The new whale wallets, primarily custodial wallets and ETFs, have not yet generated sufficient profit. This is 100% correct as well, in my opinion. This is a sentiment that I've been echoing for a while. You know, first of all, I firmly believe that a lot of this institutional buying is not going to happen when things are super bullish, and I've clearly been proven correct across many weeks and months now. Obviously, again, the thing about being correct on this YouTube channel, ladies and gents, you and I are going to understand this very well because you've been watching this now. We're up to like, what, 16, 18 minutes into the video, so you're probably a lot like me, is that you'll be correct extremely often, but it will be slow and it will be quiet when you're correct. And that would suck. It does suck. It would suck. But the reason that it's not really that bad is because you still get paid, right? So like I'd rather be a little bit quiet and, you know, kind of laid back with being correct, but then buy another fucking Porsche. You know what I mean? Like for me, that's how I will measure my success. I don't necessarily need to rub it into anybody, not too much anyway. And I certainly don't need to be going out and kind of parading myself on Twitter and YouTube too much either. I'll do it a little bit as part of the game, but for the most part, this stuff happens silently, you know, and other people start catching on much later on. I'm not saying that's Key. Perhaps Key had these opinions from much earlier, but we've certainly been talking about it on this YouTube channel for a long time. You know, these people that are getting in, they're going to be buying when things are not looking good, which has been, you know, the case over the last kind of 6 months. And of course, you know, they're just not going, you know, I mean, you're not getting into the riskiest asset class in the world for a fucking 1% profit, right? I mean, you know, you're clearly, if you're going to take this level of risk on, and especially if you're used to much more stable things, you know, to park your money in and to grow your money, then 1% return is not good enough. for Bitcoin. It must be substantially higher. It has to be more than 10%, more than 100%. It has to be more than 200 or 300%, in my opinion, for it to be worth the risk allocation here, because they're also putting relatively small amounts of their overall capital in anyway. So, this is money that they're happy to risk. I firmly believe that this is fully correct, and I couldn't agree more. That's just how it is. I just cannot bring myself to agree more with Key right here. So great stuff there. And Stock Money Lizards here, back with another tweet saying the total crypto market cap with recent events triggered the end of the short-term uptrend. We were actually talking about this with a very similar chart just a couple of videos ago, and I was telling you how I really don't care, and it has failed. So there you go. Altcoins are in a bit of a mess right now. If we do take a look at Bitcoin's dominance, of course, it's continued to move up. Obviously, those of you that watch my YouTube channel regularly cannot be surprised by this. I've been saying it in every damn video recently. I'm just not bullish on altcoins yet. I firmly believe they're going to keep on dropping down. Have fun staying poor if you disagree with me. That's all I can say at this point. I've been saying this for a very long time, ladies and gents. It's been going on for a very long time. Honestly, I've started to get a little bit sick of how much people are debating me on this. I think that there's much more useful things we could be debating each other on. This has been the status quo for years, and I dumped all of my altcoins in 2021. I've been very public about that. I now hold a very little bit of Solana, a very little bit of Ethereum, and everything else is in Bitcoin. All right, and obviously that's working out amazingly right now, because even the safest altcoin of them all, being Ethereum, is constantly losing value against Bitcoin. Bitcoin's dominance is constantly moving up. These little fucking celebration laps, these victory laps that these dumb altcoin traders take every time there's a fucking 15% move, it's ridiculous, right? You're going from minus 95% down to minus 93% down. You're still 93% down. It's absolutely ridiculous. They run victory laps. They act like it's a new paradigm and that we're going back to DeFi everything and NFTs and all that stuff. Ain't happening. We're not there yet, right? We need different circumstances in the environment. It's been this case for at least the last year, and I think it's going to continue to be this case until things fundamentally change in this market. And I've been very vocal about what that change looks like. I think that change is going to be when Bitcoin, because nothing is guaranteed, but if Bitcoin is able to significantly rally higher, I'm talking well above $100,000, probably even above $150,000. At that point, I think Bitcoin could start slowing down and losing a bit of momentum, and I expect that momentum to move back into the altcoin market. We're not there yet. We're not even close to that yet. In between, are we still going to get some nice spikes on the altcoin market? Yes, of course. We're still going to get nice spikes in the altcoin market. XRP is going to wake up and pump 50% and then dump 40% the next day. It's going to happen. It's always happening. It's going to keep happening. But as far as the real wealth creation, where you can get into the altcoin market, not take on very much risk, make a shitload of money, and then exit after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, that is nowhere near as far as I'm concerned. And for me, I'm not interested in the scraps, right? I don't want to be a wolf out here. I want to take the whole fucking carcass, the meat, the bones, everything. I don't want the scraps that the ravens have to feed off. That's just not how I trade. I want the big money. And otherwise, I'm happy to just keep myself safe until it comes. So altcoin market done and dusted. We don't need to look at anything else there. S&P 500, pretty much still holding these all-time highs. It's looking really good. Traditional finance is looking really good in my opinion. It begs the question, why is Bitcoin so weak? I think that it's to do with the dollar, and I think that the S&P 500 is just uniquely strong right now. Could it be that it's getting carried by stocks like Nvidia? Possibly. Possibly. I don't know, but I do think that the dollar is kind of the number one thing that's having a big effect on Bitcoin right now. And clearly, this is in direct response to the tensions in the Middle East right now. In fact, the dollar started moving up directly when all of that tension happened. And gold has been trending up for weeks and months prior. And anybody that has any basic understanding about the gold chart, which is going to be many of you watching, you're going to know that if gold moves up, that is a sign that things could be getting very unstable in the world. Okay, so I'm not here to say World War III is coming, or all those other kind of big news-driven claims. It's really not my place to say, but clearly money is moving in the direction of hedging, and specifically hedging into gold, into precious metals. So Again, I still think that this is a good climate for Bitcoin. I just think Bitcoin needs to catch up, right? Bitcoin moves in its own time a little bit, and it's not a problem because when it does decide to wake up, we make a lot of money. So I'm still very happy with it. I think Bitcoin needs to hold 60K. If we can't hold it, it's 58. But you know what? It's fine if we go down to 58. I just would prefer if we don't. I'd prefer if we start kind of moving up now. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't know. We'll have to see. We will have to see. But 58, like I said, I wouldn't be worried. And I'd also just have to see how sentiment looks, right? I mean, if we start getting, if we drop down to 58, but sentiment is down to like 25, 20, I mean, that's a very low rating on the fear and greed index, ladies and gents. I mean, when you hit low ratings like that, you don't typically stay there for that long before the market rebounds. And so I definitely think that there's going to be some pretty nice potential here for Bitcoin to recover, even if it does kind of drop down, and especially if we start seeing sentiment getting really sour, because ultimately the number one thing we want to see is that retail sells their bags into the hands of people that are a little bit more patient, perhaps the ETF buyers, perhaps the institutions, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter, but as long as it moves from the hands of the impatient to the hands of the patient, then the number one thing that you can guarantee for yourself is that less people in this market will be selling because more people in this market will be patient holders. So there you go, ladies and gents. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. We're covering very deep psychological, fundamental aspects of these markets, things that you don't hear anywhere else. If you appreciate it, obviously smash that subscribe button up. Make sure that you've hit that like button as well, and check out the huge bonuses available in the description below. Bybit giving you up to $30,000, their decentralized sister exchange, and Blowfin with thousands and thousands of dollars in more bonuses here, which you guys have been loving. So check them all out, pending your country's local laws and regulations. If your country allows it, then do it. Do it if you want to. And if your country doesn't allow it, then you shouldn't, because your government knows how to keep you safe. All right, with that, ladies and gents, hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have. Smash up the like, subscribe to the bell, all that stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.